right, homies, come on. I'm pretty proud of the effort we made today. Even if it wasn't exactly what I pictured, not exactly the way that I wanted it to go, I made the absolute best of a day when I was not feeling at my best. And that's kind of all you could ever ask for, you know? I've been having an issue for this whole past week. Y'all have heard me bitch and complain about it all week long, where I had to do 4 days in a row because the girlfriend got sick, comp's coming up, can't afford to miss a day type shit, whatever. Honestly, I look back at that now, I could have afforded to miss a fucking day. It was not really worth all the strain that I've had when it comes to the bottom positioning in my Olympic lifts specifically. The squats are a little bit easier because they're static, but the explosive fast movement into the hole just burns like a bitch. Ever since I did that heavy back squat bench press day without a rest after, specifically on my right inner thigh, I forget if that's the adductor or abductor, but you know, correct me, whatever you want to say, but that little fucker in there, in my groin / the inner thigh, that muscle has killed me this week. Every single time I've gotten to a bottom position, that one just did not want to settle. It feels like it's playing guitar strings with a fucking fiddle every time I sit down on it. However, through sheer mobility, stability, consistency, the passion, of course, we've made do. At the bare minimum, I have maintained, if not continued, my progress toward some new weight. Today was just max out, snatch and clean and jerk, 3 singles on both. 3 top singles at snatch was at 250, clean and jerks at 300. New weight on clean and jerk, staying the same on snatch because I failed 75 last month. And even though getting into the bottom position was a big struggle, if you ever have problems with your hips, groin, inner thigh muscles, the works, the shit that lets you squat comfortably, you're probably going to look like you're doing a power snatch or a power clean and then sitting down into the full squat before standing it back up. When in a perfect world, you're going to want it to look very fluent, like you're just, you know, the moment the bar touches your shoulders, you're already falling into the ass to grass position. I was not doing that shit today. I tried, but if the stability is not there, you can't force it, you know? You have to work with what your body will give you in that moment. And today, it was a solid power position into a kind of weak squat position. But again, if the weights move and the technique is good and you feel okay, no pain, work with what you got. You know, every single lift felt okay the whole way around. You know, did every lift up to 225 on snatch. Again, the first warm-up specifically felt slower because typically when I have more of a main muscle group issue or soreness, lack of stability, mobility, whatever you want to call it, I'll do better on the heavy weights because my body has no choice but to push past that little bit of uncomfortability to get into position where I have to be. Because no matter what happens, my pull is going to be as explosive as possible, no matter what. So every snatch felt good, and because I've had to focus on my technique so much, I actually feel like I'm getting a hang of, like, you know, if you know Olympic weightlifting at all, or if you're comfortable with it, or if you've seen some of the bigger guys do it out there in the world, there's a big skill gap between people that are just kind of powering through it versus being able to use the momentum of the swing from the second pull into the third pull, specifically from the knees to the hips, you know? Because obviously you don't want to push your hips into the bar by any mean, but if you can, like, swing your body under the weight without bumping it, that will give you the highest velocity possible to dive into the bar. And specifically at 250 today, I failed the first attempt, threw it behind my head, instantly got ready for another one. I was like, I already know what I'm fucking up on, and I'm not going to make that same mistake again. Just tightened the low back, you know, primed the CNS as best I could, treated the first pull like a genuine deadlift so that once I had the perfect positioning at the knee, I could pull as hard as I want. And I finally started getting into that rhythm of being able to really whip into it without bumping the bar forward. And it just put me in into the ass to grass position without any kickback, which was great. The first and the second reps were beautiful. I was very happy with it. The first one was just slightly shaky because I jumped right back on it after failing the first one, but really held strong. The second one is exactly how I want my competition lifts to look every single time. Just catching it right overhead, even if it's just barely over the top of my head versus going too far back, I was able to fully stabilize it with my shoulders and just stand it straight up without any lack of strength or instability. That was great. The third attempt was one that it presented new growth, but it still kind of pisses me off. Because in my mind, I don't know what it is, whether or not it's an actual comp make or a training make, because great pull, great power, great stability. I get into catch position, and you guys know me. I'm typically more of a strength Olympic lifter than a technique one, and I think I'm starting to make that transition where the technique comes through a lot more, and especially with me getting used to whipping the bar without bumping it out. I got right in that ass to grass position, and it was the first time where I got there, immediately felt some instability, and instead of standing straight up and failing the rep, I just got to sit there and figure it out. I never do that shit. I was very proud of that because one of the hardest things that you can do, especially on the last snatch of the entire workout, that was basically, in my mind, what would have been the third attempt in comp, you know? That rep, being able to sit at the bottom and really hold the position to stand it up properly, is exactly what I'm going to be able to need to do when I hit that top weight in the actual competition, you know? Sometimes you don't hit it perfectly where you can just stand straight up, and sometimes you're not strong enough to just stand up like you want to, because even if you get in the perfect position, if you stand up too quick and unalign your spine, weight goes forward or backward and you have to drop it, you know? There's a split second when I catch it, when the instability hits, and again, it's mostly from my right leg having that little bit of instability, but still proud I held it. But there's that slight second on my right arm where, from the angle I recorded that, I can't tell if my shoulder externally it would have been, I can't tell if my shoulder internally rotated on the catch and then realigned, making it to where it may appear that my elbow's bent, but if you've seen any near misses in comp, the elbow can look like it's bending without it actually moving, and it's just your shoulder rotating, and when you internally rotate the shoulder, your elbow's going to look like it's more in a bent position than when you first held it at. But again, it's very quick, and it could have been an elbow bend. I was locked in, and I was very excited to at least hit it, which is all I could ask for, you know? So one way or another, I'm proud of it. I'm not going to overthink it. And if that was what my third attempt in comp looked like, I would be over the moon, even if they red lighted me. Because if I'm going to hit my PR weight and have it that stable and feel that good, I'm for it. Especially when I'm not even near peaked right now. I can't wait for my leg to stop feeling icky. But otherwise, clean and jerks, same deal. I basically power cleaned into a full squat every single rep, getting up to 295. And again, the split jerks were great. I'm very happy with that. Everything up to 295, everything felt great. 295 was the best warm-up for sure, which I'm happy with, especially on a day where I do strict warm-ups when it comes to my strength days. So 295 is not a warm-up I'm willing to skip out on, so that when I go to competition, I can crush it like it's absolutely nothing, you know? I want those heavy weights near my 100% to feel consistent and confident so that I can PR at my own leisure, you know? 300 for 3 singles. Never done that weight. It was only a 5-pound jump from last program, but still, big progress. The first one was easily the worst because, again, lack of instability in the catch, way too, I'm kind of starfishing with my legs. My knees are driving way too far out, making them have to come back in a little bit too hard. That's just, again, lack of instability in my inner thigh. That's all that is. Otherwise, the split jerk was all right. Every single set got better. Up until that third single. Again, it's so funny to me. Almost every time I have a day where I feel like shit and I'm just nonchalant lifting, trying to focus on one lift at a time, not caring about where I end up. The last one is just no thoughts, the easiest one of the day. Of course, it probably strength-wise was the hardest one, but when it came to the confidence, the consistency, and the technique of it, I just blew it out of the water, which is a great thing. Again, if I can fuck up a first attempt or have a little bit of an instability, and then every single one after that get better and better and better, the more I get confident at it, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to be all right. I'm extremely excited to see how this all transitions to competition. regardless, feeling good. No complaints. I'm still hitting the weights I'm supposed to hit. I'm just waiting for that day where my leg finally kind of heals and gets to come back at it the 100% that I want it to. It's probably not going to be till partway through next week. Because tomorrow's heavy back squat and bench press day is going to be hard. You know, I already know I'm going to be grinding like a motherfucker tomorrow, but that's all right. I get a rest day after that. I'll actually rest like I should have last week. And then I have 2 days of conditioning and 1 recovery day on the power lifts. So at the bare minimum, I can just take next week easy and then go hard on my max out days so that I can actually recover the way that my body needs to before competition. It's kind of fun working in a psych unit sometimes. I had a nice little interaction with the therapist today. We like to take the patients out to the courtyard sometimes, start shooting the shit a little bit, getting to know whoever's new, talking to people about their troubles of the day, you know, whatever's going on, yada, yada, yada. And I'm sitting here yapping about to one of the patients who are supposed to go home, and they're all worst case scenario, like my mom's not going to come get me, I'm worried about my girlfriend, I'm worried about not having a job, whatever. And of course, you know, in my brain, I'm like, that's normal, dude. You know, you don't got to feel weird about that. That is all okay. And I'm sitting there like trying to comfort them. I'm like, you know, everybody's got something like that. You don't got to worry about it. And therapist is kind of like listening in a little bit. And like, he's cool about not correcting me, but giving me little tidbits of therapeutic advice. Because I want to be able to talk to these patients in a productive, positive way that makes it easier for them to live after they leave the unit, you know? And he made the comment of the word normal is way overused. And the moment he said it, I didn't get upset because of me being like, hey man, you're butting our conversation. I had that little ego moment I was like having a moment with the patient, and he said that, and I looked back at that, and the only reason I got a little upset was because I knew he was 100% right. You know, I felt a little embarrassed. The moment he said it, I was like, son of a bitch. Like, I know that, but it's not something you think about because in my typical life, people don't think about the word normal being odd, but people who come to the psych unit specifically are not the typical people, and that's supposed to be okay. And so when you sit there, and of course it can be comforting, and it's not like I was negatively influencing the patient by any means, but telling him that he's normal because everybody else does it is not what I want them to take home thinking about. I want them to feel I'm trying to not use the word normal, but I want them to feel like themselves and be confident and passionate about the self that they've become. I wear Pikachu Crocs, golden Olympic shoes. I got my buff Magikarp shirt on. I play 13 DSs and I'm 22 years old. And I'm still on Pokemon, grinding it out all the time. And I'm probably a bit kooky, even if I don't realize it myself. And I'm not happy and passionate and confident about my own personality because I compare myself to others. I consistently preach to you guys that I just love doing my own bullshit and loving my own life to the highest extent that I can. That's all it is. You know, and that's something that I love so much about the way that I've been able to learn my life lessons through the gym and be able to be a better person and, you know, more sympathetic, more, you know, consolidating to myself and other people, you know, giving credibility, but also giving, you know, availability to myself and others when it's actually needed, rather than just telling myself, get the fuck over it. These are all things I learned in the gym. I learned to be comfortable with myself in the gym. And so sometimes you got to look at your own self and really reflect on that when you're talking to other people, trying to give the best advice you can. Because, of course, I'm trying to give the best advice I can. Again, it's not a negative thing to say the word normal. But it's not what you need to focus on. You just got to focus on the best version of you, you know? Because no matter how I chalk it up, some of these people that come to the unit are never going to be what we see as normal. What the generalized population will say that to be dictated as, you know? And it doesn't fucking matter. I hate the idea of people telling me that I'm good because I compare. You know, I always tell you guys I could care fucking less about what people think about me lifting or whatever, because I am the most passionate I've ever been about it. I bench press, yet I'm an Olympic lifter. That doesn't make sense. Sometimes I go a little too heavy and I keep pushing. But if I feel good, I want to live in the moment. I bought a $1,000 barbell on a whim because I had a little bit of extra money and I wanted to fucking commit to this sport. I'm not normal by any fucking means, and I'm not a psych patient. So why should I tell this guy that he needs to be normal or that he needs to find comfort in being generalized? Hell no. So I rerouted that conversation real quick. He took it well one way or another, but it's cool to see that you can kind of flip the script right in the moment and have an even better impact on people sometimes. And I walked up to the therapist after and I was like, I appreciate you today. Because the only reason I had a little twinge moment, that little ego moment of like, that was my moment with the patient, it was because I was embarrassed. Because I knew that was, one, the best advice that he could have given, not only the patient, but also me. So I'm going to carry that with a good notion and appreciate it. Because I don't have normal days. I don't have, I can't keep, even though I feel like shit this week comparatively to what I was before, I got to stop thinking about the was before. There is no normal day. There is no normal workout. There is no normal physical, mental confidence. It's just whatever you can muster today and appreciating that shit today. So that when the next time you hit a highest peak, you can actually live in that moment instead of being just comfortable in that moment, thinking, okay, now I've hit my standard. No, there is no standard. You just do the best you got. And when you hit that next peak, you relish in it. You fucking scream as much as you want. You live in that moment and you carry it with you and learn from it. Physically, wasn't great, wasn't perfect by any means. We're still recovering the lower body, the extremities. But, I definitely, I carried my fucking weight. For these weights to be moving as consistently as they are, it's so exciting to think about what's going to happen after I finish competition. When I get to do these, I'm really excited to just get into more and more programs over time to, just keep adding that little bit of weight at a time just to see what happens, And especially if I end up PRing in competition, I want to lift based off those weights when I come back on the new program. It might not go the way I want to, but it's going to get me passionate. So who cares? So regardless, I picked up the weight the best I could, found out new ways to utilize my technique without relying too much on my strength, and no misses other than the first snatch. So I can still give it a pretty solid 8.45, Not blowing it out of the water by any means. And 8.45 seems high, but just the weights that I'm throwing are no fucking joke, man, especially for several sets. So I got to take that to heart and really understand how much of an effort I put in today, even though I feel completely fine. And again, if you can hit a heavy snatch clean and jerk day and feel completely physically fine afterward, the recovery is going to come. And that's what's got me the most excited. Mentally, it was a good day. Nothing too crazy, Work was good. Gym was good. I'm just strolling through life. Loving every second of it. Chopping it up with the homies. Appreciating what I can do, not only for myself, but for the people that I care about around me. So, we can give it a 9.1. It was a great day, Nothing crazy, but it was a great day. And I'm going to hold that to my heart. I will be back tomorrow. It is heavy back squat and heavy bench press tomorrow, so that's going to be a fucking experience, that's for sure. Oh, man. It's going to go. We're going to figure it out one way or another. I'm supposed to do 3 by 3 on both, but it's going to be 420 back squat, 320 bench, so we're going to take it one step at a time, I don't know how that set scheme is going to feel on my legs, because I was doing great otherwise on the last program, but I really wanted to push myself. So I'm going to at least relish in it, continue to try to do my best, and we'll figure it out one step at a time. Thanks for hearing me yap. I know it's a bit of a longer one, but, got to get it out. Let me know how the lifting live's been going. Love hearing about it, and I'll be back, as always. I love you guys. See you later. Bye.